Welcome back to Country Conversations. My name is Joey, and as always, I'm joined by...
Hey man, it's Chris over here tonight. What's going on, Joey?
Not much, man. We've got a fun one planned for tonight. We have a special guest that's came on the show, singer-songwriter Adam Church. How you doing, Adam?
Hey, I'm doing well, guys. How are y'all doing tonight?
Doing
we're good, man.
Really good,
good.
man.
Excited to talk to you.
Yeah, appreciate y'all having me out. I'm stoked. This is going to be a good little night here for you.
Most
and
definitely,
for me too, man.
Heck yeah. So, Adam, let's go ahead and just roll right into it. Why don't you talk a little bit about your musical journey and kind of how you got started playing music, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so, I guess I was 3 years old where it all kind of started. My dad was driving around in his old red 1990 Chevy truck, like stick shift. And I remember Curtis Lowe by Leonard Skinner came on the radio. My dad was like, son, this song's going to be on the radio when you're 70 years old. So I never look back from that moment. And I'm like, holy cow, I play that at all my acoustic shows. And it's like that song. And for me, with that relationship with my dad, that built like this thing in me of wanting to do music. And I guess got into the classic rock thing through my dad. And first concert was actually Nickelback, and everyone's going to hate on that, but don't knock them till you've seen them live. That's what I got to say about that.
That's right, man. I feel like Nickelback's they're gonna have their bounce back moments soon.
They get some unwarranted hate though, honestly. Silver Side Up was a solid project.
Yeah, for sure. When I saw them, it was 06 and Photograph had just came out and all that. But it was Hinder just had Lips of an Angel go #1, I think, or something that year. And then it was Chevelle and Huba Stank on the bill. That was 2006. But
oh, wow. Do you know which venue that was?
Dude, it was Knoxville, Tennessee, Thompson Bowling Arena show.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Good times there. And it was 16. I was 16 then. And then I got into Eric Church, to come back around to why I'm doing this and why I'm here. But I was, I guess, getting off the school bus at my grandma's house my sophomore year of high school before I had a car. And so turned CMT on and saw this dude, Eric Church, on there with this mullet and just down home looking guy. And the Two Pink Lines music video was on. I was like, who is this guy? So I looked him up and started getting into Eric Church and loved every single one of his songs from the get-go, from Sinners Like Me. And he ended up, my senior year at Watauga High School in Boone, he ended up playing a concert at Legends, the local venue on campus, and did the Carolina album release party. Jonathan Singleton and the Grove ended up opening the show. And fast forward, Jonathan, I'm now friends with and write with him, which is crazy, to that night that he opened for Eric, and he was there doing all that with him.
Wow.
And but that was the night in 2009 when I saw Eric play in my hometown when I was 18. Just got out of baseball practice and went there and saw Eric, and that gets into where Luke Combs, my good buddy, was at Appalachian State in his dorm, and his roommate went to the show as a freshman when I was still in high school. So I don't know any of these people at this point. And Luke's roommate reports back to him. His name was Andy Stoker. And so that's how that show got Luke into Eric Church from the Carolina album. And I was already into him. And that night I was like, I want to play music. So I go to play baseball, ETSU, in college in Johnson City, Tennessee for a year, and end up quitting there, going to community college in Wilkes, and making my way back to Boone and to App, and started playing gigs and some shows locally around town. And Luke hit me up on Facebook Messenger because I had an Appalachian State hat on in a YouTube video, and he was like, dude, we should collab and hang out. And he'd never played shows he'd written a couple songs at that point, none of the ones y'all hear today, but that's how we ended up meeting, was me starting out doing my thing in Boone and him seeing me with what he wanted to do. And that's how that all kind of started. I don't want to go into crazy too much more, but on this first question, but literally going play by play
That's
of
good.
How I'm here, man. So that's a good start, I guess.
So you're telling us that the famous picture of Luke standing there at the Eric show, you were at that show.
Oh, dude. That was at Coyote Joe's, and I was dating ex-girlfriend at the time. good girl. She's doing well in life and happy for her and everything. Good. She's a good human, but went with her and ended up Luke ended up going with our friend Emily Peel, and he had, I guess, an inn. I think his uncle or cousin worked there. So I was like, got in line, and I knew he was coming down, and I think they actually got into like a car wreck on the way, maybe, or something, but they were all fine. They get there somehow. And I just see Luke and my friend Emily walking by me, and we're like probably 20 people from the front. And I'm just like, Luke. And he was like, looks at me. It's like, dude, sorry, man. I'm just like, dude, you crazy. But he actually ended up getting on the front row with her, like right in front of Eric. And I was on the second row, about 10 feet from Luke, to like, if you look at that picture, I'm to like the left, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, man, that was life-changing moment for me and him to see Eric acoustic in that light, for sure.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, that is amazing to hear you tell that story. Wow.
Yeah, to hear the story behind the photo, man. That's cool. We're both huge church fans too. Eric is the guy, man. I'm telling you,
he's the guy, man. I wouldn't be doing this. I always say that at my shows too, and like I know Luke feels the same way. But it's like I wouldn't be up here if it wasn't for Eric Church's music and his like whatever he had, his songwriting, his demeanor, his, I guess, authenticity, as everyone else would say, but he was just so real, man. Didn't have to be the best singer or guitar player or anything. And I just loved everything he was and still do. So
looking back at, at your story and Luke's story and Rob's story and probably 100 other people's story, I mean, you really think you really think about Eric. I mean, he will definitely go down as the most influential artist of the last 15 years. I would think, especially on the other people in the country music community.
100%. You gave me chills, you saying those words. I'm like, holy cow, that's so true. So many artists could say that, like Luke, Ray Fulcher. I know, like you said, Rob Williford. Yeah. Like Ray Fulcher is the same way. Like I think he heard lightning for the first time and was like, holy cow, this is insane. Yeah. So it's crazy.
Looking back on that, did you dive into kind of Eric's kind of, songwriting and just kind of the magic behind the songs, and then that kind of led you all to start doing that kind of stuff? Or what was kind of the connective tissue of getting inspired by Eric and that music at that time, and then kind of what you did and what you and Luke did together?
Yeah, I guess from hearing Eric's first songs, like the Sinners Like Me album, I was just kind of taken up back of wow, all these songs are super relatable to me. Like even at 31, I'm a dad and happily married man to my wife, Lauren, now. I look back now at 18, 16 to 18, when I listen to Eric, all those songs, even talking about heartbreak and all that kind of stuff, even resonated with me dating a girl and going in and out of a relationship for 3 years. And it was Can't Take It With You was the song that really got me going, I guess. When I saw it live for the first time, and I had just broken up with her to I guess focus on other things and just kind of figure myself out as far as going to college to play baseball and wanting to maybe do music stuff, but didn't know how to play guitar yet. That was kind of where I was at. But Can't Take It With You captured me that night he played in my hometown at Legends. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do what he's doing, so other people like me can feel this emotion, this thing, this hope to keep carrying on. If I don't have her, I'm okay. If I do have her, I'm okay. That kind of thing. Yeah. And that's, I guess bringing that back to your last part of the question about Luke. I know that night, even though he wasn't there, is what got him into country music again, really from as a kid. Cause I think him, just like most of us, we were all into I don't know, he was a big R&B guy, and I was I'm still into a lot of rock music. I still listen to Papa Roach and all that stuff, and classic rock, whatever. The Alice in Chains, that's my jam. But I think it goes to show how, you're saying before, how influential of a human and writer and the writing process of Eric through telling these songs. That's what I got into, and Luke really got into as well while we were in college. We weren't didn't start out writing songs together. We were playing cover songs for a long time and kind of get my feet wet with everything. But I guess we were really ultimately drawn to say Jonathan Singleton, who opened for Eric. And now Luke's written Beer Never Broke My Heart with that guy. And I've written my first single I put out this year, When the Sun Goes Down on a Small Town with him, which was a total dream scenario. But
that's wild, isn't it?
Maybe that answers kind of that whole question there. But yeah, man, it's a lot to think about, and it's a lot of cool stuff is happening.
Good, man. Is Legend still there? Is it still a local place that they do shows at?
Man, it is. It's totally ran by the campus now. And I'll never want to throw him under the bus for now, because we've got to open for Luke in there when he's come back, and did get to play my own show in there back in 2014. But I think it's changed hands, and the way that it's ran is like student organizations can book a show, like a frat could book us, but there's so many security hoops and stuff to jump over. But we just booked the Appalachian Theater, which was always a cool venue in town, and we're hoping Legend sees that, of how successful this is in November, and wants to book us for the spring. But yeah, Legends is there. It'd be a dream come true to get back in there. Anyone listen to this podcast, Legends, Boone, North Carolina, Adam Church Band, we'll be there.
There you go, man.
We'll play on the roof. We don't care.
There we go. That's awesome. Yeah, that's sweet. Awesome. So I know you mentioned writing your single with Jonathan Singleton. What was that process like, man? Obviously we kind of know how you linked up there. That was going to be one of my questions, actually, was about that song, but I know you said it was kind of like a dream scenario, but could you just walk us through that process and what that collaboration was like with you guys writing this? Yeah.
So I'd had a little sit down with Luke last year about just kind of the direction of usually when we hang out, it's all like, turn the music off. I know that dude just wants to hang out with his buddy and just be normal, which I can totally start to relate to now, where I'm at. I'm not anything, and I'm not famous by any means, but I can totally see a guy like that needs to turn it off and just do the priorities when it comes down to it here and there. And music is the priority, but for him, I mean, with family and all that, it is what it is. And I guess for Singleton coming into the picture, sat down with Luke, I guess, ultimately, and was like, hey, man, he's like, what do you want to do out of all this? And I'm like, man, I just want to make a living writing songs, playing music. And if I could make 50 to 60 grand a year doing this thing, I'd be completely happy. And he was like, dude, keep that attitude. That's the way to be. And I guess, so a few months go by from that, and I get a few calls from Dan Isbell, who's one of Luke's main writers and good buddies from the Brothers Hunt. And he's produced my EP that I've got coming out, and my singles now. But I got into a room booked through them with Jonathan Singleton and Eric Dillon, who's a big time songwriter as well. Big Chiefs fan. I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan too. But man, it was just
rough week for you.
Yeah,
that was an amazing game,
man.
Game of the week.
I can't hate it. I can't.
No,
hate
man. We're gonna see that again. We're gonna see that again in January.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a battle.
I guess the last thing on Jonathan, though, I mean, I always knew I'd met him a couple times through Luke over the years, so he already knew who I was a little bit. And it just so happened that I got this into a ride at 50 Egg, which is Luke and Jonathan's co-venture publishing company, and just got a write with Jonathan. And I was like, this is insane. I was freaking out, calling people, called Ray Fulcher, even Luke was like, I'm writing with the guy today, man. I'm writing with Jonathan. It's a huge deal for me, a dream come true to write a song with this guy. Yeah. And that's kind of what we wrote the first time we hung out. We wrote When the Sun Goes Down on a Small Town in 2 to 3 hours. And I knew from that day, I was like, I want to put this out. And my producer at the time now, and still producing my stuff, and he's more of a number one big songwriter, but Dan Isbell, great guy, loved the guy. But he was like, yeah, we should release that first. And that's kind of what happened, man. Play by play of getting to meet him and just seeing it all full circle happen in that writer's room to me putting this song out with his name on it. Wow, is all I got to say.
That's amazing, man. I love it. It's a smash too.
Dude, it's gotten, I wouldn't say as much traction as I thought it would out of the gate, but at the same time, with how new I've been releasing music on Spotify and Apple and all that I know you just got to stay consistent, and it'll keep flowing. TikTok game's huge now, and you got to keep that up. Yeah. But that's a whole nother thing to consider for a lower maintenance, lower key guy like me to tap into. But we're getting there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. One step at a time. Let's jump back. So you're in Boone now, right?
Yeah. So I'm here with my wife and 3-year-old daughter in Boone now.
Have you been bouncing back and forth between Boone and Nashville?
Dude, bouncing back and forth, looking to try to move out there hopefully by next year, maybe, depending on how things go. All my band dudes are still here, and it's super awesome. Like, I know a lot of the dudes out in Nashville, they don't even see their band dudes, but thankfully I can have my dudes here, and they're all committed and improved a lot. They've helped me improve a lot. But yeah, we're out of Boone, and I'm driving, say, every 2 to 3 weeks, writing songs with people in Nashville is my main thing to keep my publishing going and just try to build my catalog up the best I can.
How far of a drive is that for you?
Dude, it's not bad. 5. I've got it down to a science. It's like 2 turns from my house, 5.5 hours if traffic's good.
There you go.
And, I usually go out on a Tuesday morning at 4:30 a.m. I'll write a song that Tuesday morning and do like a writer's round or go support some friends. And then I'll write Wednesday at like at 11 a.m., be done at 4 and roll back to Carolina, get 2 songs of some published songwriters and just keep trucking.
That's awesome. I'm backpedaling a little bit more. So you're good. You were in Nashville before, right? And then moved back home. I read a little bit about that. So do you want to tell that story to our listeners?
Yeah. So long story short, moved to Nashville in 2017. And I've got a whole song called Long Shot that kind of paints this picture I'll tell you all about soon. But yeah, moved there in 2017 and started living with, it was mine and Luke's, the Luke Combs band, first manager. And he's our great buddy, Sam Crabtree, works with Riley Green now and does stuff with him. But he's actually a really great songwriter as well. And used to work with the Muscadine Bloodline Camp and all those guys. But just a good dude to know around Nashville and just a good buddy to really welcome anybody to the town and be a good dude. So moved out there, started working at the golf course, Bellmead Country Club in Nashville. Vince Gill, I'd say we're friends. I don't hit the guy up or anything, but he was there and just the normalest guy ever. And like kind of put a good taste in my mouth of like, man, if Vince Gill's at this country club doing this and he's this cool, it's like, man, this is cool.
You might have got spoiled though. I think Vince is probably the nicest guy in Nashville, and he plays golf every day.
That's what I've heard, I think, too.
He's a beast on the course.
I think like what he would tell me, you'd always have to offer him a cart, but he would always walk out with his 5 o'clock shadow. And he would always be like, I was like, Vince, do you want a cart, man? He was like, man, you know the drill. He's like, I just need to walk my fat ass around 9 holes and get out of here. Like literally that's all he would say. And he was the nicest dude. And he signed my guitar one time and I like took it, like snuck it into work. And I was like, I'm going to get Vince to sign this today. They're like, no, you won't. And he's like, yeah, I'll sign it. He's like, that wears off. Just let me know and I'll bring it back and I'll sign it again. So
that's
top
awesome,
notch,
man.
dude.
You can't beat that. That is awesome. So you were there 2017. So kind of what happened next?
Yeah, so 2017, moved to Tennessee, and I guess 2018, I got the invite, and a lot of people don't know this, but so I went to an Avenged Sevenfold, Breaking Benjamin, Bullet for My Valentine concert in Bridgestone Arena. It was January 11th or 12th, January 12th, 2018, and ended up falling through the bleachers behind the stage and like woke up to Nashville like firemen like waking me up, be like, hey man, are you okay? Are you alive? And it's like I just literally fell through the bleachers. I had no idea what happened. I just know I hit the ground super hard. It's like a 15-20 foot fall through the bleachers at Bridgestone. And I went to emergency surgery at Vanderbilt, like got taken in an ambulance. So that cut my clothes off me and they were like, dude, you got a broken leg, man. So I didn't even look, I didn't even feel it. And so I'd wrote this song like 4 months before with my buddy Sam Crabtree and Matt Wallace. He's Steel Matthews, like Jelly Rolls guy. And Jordan Fletcher is actually a writer on that song too. And it was like called Going Back to Carolina. And so that song, like I was missing all my family back home. And like even I started playing Broadway pretty consistently in that like first year at the end and writing songs and hanging out with Nate Frederick. He was my good buddy too. I worked at the same golf course with him, but yeah, ended up writing the Going Back to Carolina song. And I ended up going back to Carolina and it's, I'd had my fiance like at the time still back home, and she would drive out to see me, and I'd go back every 2 to 3 weeks, and it ended up reuniting us, and we ended up having a daughter. And I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina after I recovered, worked a little bit and got on my feet. And it's kind of crazy, man. There's a lot more to that whole story, but that's me going to Nashville and me exiting Nashville 2017 to 2018.
Hey man,
it's pretty wild.
It takes a lot of people a lot of times to go to Nashville. You know, I mean,
dude, I think Rob Williford went and came back home and went and maybe did it 2 or 3 times, and you just never know.
Absolutely, man. Have you heard any of the album that Rob's getting ready to drop?
Dude, I have not, man. I know I always like see his stories, and I know he's been working on that about as hard as anyone I've seen work with, like the studio footage and like the little hints he drops. But if it's anything like Rob's style, how I know who he's been working with, people are gonna love it. I'm gonna love it. Like I know, like he probably doesn't even care if it's mainstream or anything or how it does. I think it's just more of a for him kind of thing, and put it out there and just enjoy that, because that's what music should be about. It's putting something out that you really believe in and want to do. And I'm supporting the guy. I'm gonna love it.
Absolutely, man. It looks like he recorded down in Muscle Shoals, so I'm sure the history that was surrounding him down there was pretty incredible.
Dude, I bet so, man. I really can't wait to hear all that.
Speaking of new music in general, you recently put out a single, Matters More, and that is an awesome song, man. We both are loving that one.
Dang, I appreciate it. I really love that tune. And it's I think there's a lot more to come as far as that song getting discovered in life, for sure.
Absolutely. What was the inspiration behind that? Maybe tell our listeners who aren't familiar with the song kind of the backstory on that and what that recording process was like.
Yeah, for sure. I went into Sony Publishing, and always look up and be like hanging out with Luke in like 2012, 2013, 2014, looking up like at these buildings like Sony and being like, man, I'd wish we were in there. And it's like, holy cow, now I'm getting to hang out in these rooms with these people, but now they're my friends. And it's like, it's just crazy to think about. I will never get over how it feels to be like where I thought I could never be, like even just being a writer with the people, with these guys. But anyways, Matters More, walked into Sony, and it was Jacob Lutz, who's one of my great buddies. I've written maybe about the most songs with him as far as published writers. He's with 50 Egg under Singleton and Luke at their publishing company, and wrote it with Dan Isbell and Reed Isbell of the Brothers Hunt. And Reed was with 50 Egg at the time. I think he's a free agent now, and Dan is with Sony. And obviously he's written a lot of Luke's hits. And now Luke and Reed now have The Kind of Love We Make with Jamie Davis, who's also on a lot of my songs that we'll talk about maybe tonight or very near future. But so Matters More, Dan had the idea when he walked in, and we were thinking about like, man, it's like, what about your first truck and your first shows and the things like that? But it's not even about that kind of stuff. And what it is you kind of look back on your life of getting older and just the things that really meant the most, or like gave you a drive to keep going, to do things, like the things that mattered the most, that matter more to you, is literally what this whole song's about. It's almost as simple as you think it is, but there's a lot more to it when you listen to the lyrics, I guess, through the chorus. But I think it's a total longevity tune. You could listen to this song in 43 years from now and get the same feel, and it's just as irrelevant, or just as relevant as it is in 2022. Absolutely, so I think that's kind of where it's at. We really believe in it. There's a lyric video that drops tomorrow on 10/19, and there's a official full-blown music video for it coming out probably when we drop the EP soon. So yeah.
Where did you guys film the video at?
So we filmed the video up towards Banner Elk, North Carolina, called Eagle's Nest is the development, and played some shows there. It's the best outdoor venue in North Carolina. And man, can't wait for y'all to see it.
That's awesome, man. Did you record this in Nashville with Jonathan, or who was the producer?
Yeah.
Where'd you record at?
Yeah, so Dan Isbell produced all these songs for my EP coming out, which is When the Sun Goes Down, and he's on Matters More. and we ended up recording. He's one of my great buddies now, but it was called Safe House Sound out towards Franklin, Tennessee, with a guy named Chris Utley. And he just got signed with Sony as a writer, but he's super rocky kind of guy and like loves corn and like all that kind of stuff that I like, where it's like Dan kind of calms us down when we get in there. It's like, oh, that's a rock song. It's like we're doing country music. It's like, I get it. I wish I could sing rock music and I'd be doing that, but maybe one day. But country is like the thing for me as far as how I relate, how I grew up. And that recording process is literally insane because we went and done all that with the same studio musicians, and just seeing these guys go to work and just come up with like, I mean, the stuff you hear that played on, I think the guy that played bass was Jules, touring guitar or touring bassist for a long time. And like all these other dudes are just on all the stuff we hear. I think a lot of Luke's tracks are by the drummer, Jerry. And yeah, it's cool. And now I'm friends with like a lot of these guys. So it's like, I know who I can go to record with as far as having that in Nashville and just being comfortable there.
Absolutely, man. On a song like this, I mean, when you look back to the day that you guys wrote it, was it a quick write? Did it take the whole day? I mean, what are your memories on the day you guys wrote it?
Man, it was honestly, very quick. Like we knew the ideas just popped out when I started saying, this is my first truck. This is my first show. Might have been 20 people there. And like those lyrics all kind of just evolved with these grade A, like A+ songwriters I was with like the melodies they can come up with on the fly, and just are all really great singers too, and just not bad guitar players at that. They'll all be like, dude, I'm not a guitar player, but these dudes know what they've been doing. Some of them have written 2,000 to 3,000 to 4,000 songs, I'd say, in their time in Nashville or more, and give or take. And I appreciate that. Like the more I would stress to anybody in my shoes as an artist, it's like, God, appreciate the writers. That's where the magic happens. This is literally where it happens, is in the writer's room.
I'm always wondering, like the song that gets recorded, how close is the finished product to what you guys envisioned the day that you guys were writing it?
Man, that's an interesting take, because no one's ever asked me that, as far as how it goes from literally a demo or I guess it's a work tape. And in our case, I think Reed Isbell had it on an acoustic guitar and just started playing a little riff, and we just put the melody and the lyrics to it. And I would say melody wise, it's no different than how it was from the right. And it was like they were layering harmonies on it, just in real time, not with any like recording material like a lot of the rights will do and have like a demo cut with the right. This was just bare bones demo, acoustic guitar, voice memo, iPhone. And it's kind of wild to see it go from like a phone on your phone, and you learn it that way and play writers rounds and stuff, and you show it to your band and you play it this bare bones kind of way. And then when you get into the studio with these guys, and Dan Isbell introduced me to all these guys, Chris Utley, who recorded our stuff, and just a lot of the musicians play on a lot of the stuff y'all hear on the radio and all that kind of stuff. But it's amazing to see it go from square one to a finished product, to even being mastered, to truly finished. And you hear all the bells and whistles kind of come out, and it's like, man, they added so much to it than we could have ever imagined, which is crazy. But it's a mind-blowing thing. And going back to that point with the writers, I was just, I guess, wrapping up from before, it's just treating those writers, that's where the magic happens. Like I was saying before, it's like gold, those relationships, because they can help a guy like me, who I don't will ever think will be the best writer in the world. I just need to keep working on that craft and write more songs and learn from these guys to make my artistry and myself even better. So that's what I would stress to other people as far as that goes. But man, it's crazy seeing it go from square one as a bare bones song to where it is released on all social platforms and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like a very time consuming process, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I guess you were saying too, I mean, back to like the timing of, like, I think we wrote Matters More in April and ended up putting it out this past, I guess it was September. So that was about a 6-month process or so, and that seemed quick. So I know some songs I think sit there for like 2 to 3 to 4 years, maybe, or 10 years, and some sit there for a month or two and they cut them. I guess it's just different, but it's more than it's not going to happen overnight. I guess we'll say that.
Yeah, most definitely. So obviously you and the band are playing shows again, but you got to do some of the, forgive me if I'm calling them by the wrong name, but like the bootlegger tailgate pre-parties.
Oh man,
is that right?
You're pretty accurate, man. There was bootlegger tailgate was the Saturday, and we did the bootlegger pre-party was the Friday night with Luke, and it was yeah. You go ahead, and I'll jump into that with whatever you want to talk about on all that.
Yeah, man, I was just going to ask what that experience was like. It seems like a lot of Luke's fans, you know, even ourselves gravitate towards your music and what you're doing as well, because you guys are very relatable guys. Your music's relatable, so it's really what I think Luke fans would love. So, what was that experience like for you and the band?
Yeah, man, I'll go. I mean, it was literally the craziest thing going to Denver, Colorado. That was our first opportunity, and Cappy, Luke's manager, called me and was like, "Hey, man, got an idea to run by you that I'm about to chat with Luke about." And he gave me the rundown. We want to see you guys come play, bring your band to Denver, Colorado, Seattle, Washington, Atlanta, Georgia. And I was like, we'll see you there for sure. But so I guess Denver was the craziest thing because I'd never been as far west as Nashville, Tennessee until we went out there. I think it was May 20th was that show out there, or so, May 19th, May 20th. And we had 900 people through the door, sold out show in Denver. And we had brought our 4-piece band just for travel's sake and all that. And it was the time of our lives. We'll say that. Got to go to the stadium show the next day. And really what was cool is what I was like, why I got giddy about this opportunity to talk about this was the other artists that we get to meet through these opportunities that were on those, say, Whiskey Jam. It was the Whiskey Jam bootlegger tailgate. It was the Saturday. So like Bailey Zimmerman, before he even he was already blowing up a little then and back in May, but we got to hang out with him and he played a little bit on the Friday and played his tailgate on the Saturday. And Megan Maroney, got to hang out with her and we're friends now. Like she's busy doing her thing. And Nate Smith was out there too. He just popped in to play like an acoustic song and played his hit song that's out right now. And we're just like, I'm friends with like some of these guys now, just going through that process. And like Seattle was the same way. Callista Clark came out and I got to hang out with her dad and he was the man. And she was so cool and like so kind of shy and innocent in a way of like seeing her and hearing her do her thing. But she's just like this normal person, like normal young girl that's like got it going on and has a good head on her shoulders. And fast forward into Atlanta, I got to officially meet, and like I'd been hanging out with this dude, like talking to him for like years, just like kind of like me being a voice of like an older voice of him through like Luke and stuff that he wanted to get into. And now Dalton Dover is who I'm talking about.
Oh, Joey just saw him last weekend.
Oh, yeah, he opened up for Priscilla.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's on the block tour. Yeah. Man,
he's awesome,
Dalton,
man.
Top notch dude, and he came out and played like 4 or 5 acoustic songs in the middle of our Friday night set, and then he played the tailgate on Saturday. I think Frank Ray played that as well, and Ella Langley was there, and she's incredible. But yeah, man, it was some of the coolest. I think Luke like and Cappy being like, "Hey, man, this is what this life is like. Go experience it. Let's see kind of what happens. This will be good exposure for you through doing this video and just for you getting your stuff going and getting out there, getting some shows, man." So yeah, top notch time.
Just a little bit more information about Joey and I. For one thing, we were at the Country Superfest in Columbus, which was a stadium show, but it wasn't branded as a stadium show. Yeah. So we didn't get to catch you there, but it was Jinx that night instead of Kojo. But Zach Brown was there, and I mean it was one of the most. I mean, I've seen Luke 17, 18 times. Joey's up into probably the close to that. And that was one of the most amazing nights that we've ever been a part of.
Man, I saw the promo for that, and I think Corey Kent did the pre-show for that. And I guess for what y'all got to see, like Denver, Seattle, Atlanta was like 50 to 53,000 people a night, and y'all were with like 62 or 63,000. So y'all got the biggest one of the bunch, I think, as far as people there.
Yeah, Ohio Stadium is it's
huge.
It holds 100-some thousand if they, whenever they pack them in for the football game. So it was wild. And it was at the end of the show when Luke brought Addie out, the girl that had been battling cancer. That was one of, if not the most like powerful moments that I've ever been to at a show. So it was pretty amazing.
Man, dude, that gives me chills. Like I remember just seeing the social media posts and that video kind of go viral that next morning, and I was like, God, that's what it's all about. I'm so happy my buddy's doing this and people get to see like what he's all about. Like you couldn't want to support a better dude than him bringing stuff like that to the light and just helping regular people out. It's awesome.
Absolutely. When you're standing there on a Friday night before a stadium show and you're hanging out with all these people and you're making music and, Luke's getting ready to do a stadium show. When you look back at how you guys started and the videos and the music and stuff, I mean, does it seem real or does it seem like a dream?
Dude, I wake up every day of my life. I mean, there's obviously highs and lows of anyone's life and the things you go through as far as stressors and stuff. But at the end of the day, I think being grounded through like really just being like a Christian dude, like people believe what they want to believe, but it always goes back to that for me of like, man, I just had this opportunity to at least be a human and have an opportunity on earth to live and do my thing. And I look back even more at like the whole life of what I get to do now, from always loving music, from getting into rock music to getting into Eric Church to playing with my first little band to playing with Luke and doing a duo thing with him to like us playing with the first Luke Combs band and doing like that first EP or two. And then, man, just seeing him in a stadium now. And like, even over the past years, it's like, you would be starstruck at this person. Like if that was your Eric Church or your Brentley Gilbert or whatever as like a 20-year-old. But now I want to would stress that to regular people that they're just normal people that do the same things like everybody else. And it's just unimaginable to think about as like, I think I have the passenger seat view to see like my buddy Luke doing his thing. And it's like, just honestly just fuels me and gives me fire to know that like, I think I'm here on earth to tell people that they can do anything they want to do. Like if it's music, cool. If it's like, I don't know, welding, that's cool. But you can do anything you want to do. If Luke Combs can do it and put his mind to it, from where he was in college to like not knowing really how to play guitar when we met hardly to where he's at now as far as a songwriter, a human, a dad, a father. I mean, dad, father, a husband. I mean, it goes on, but that's all related to it's a God's plan, God's gift, God's timing kind of thing for me to look at it and try to relay that to other people that keep going, keep trying, doesn't matter how old you are, because that's all I've been living by and what people keep telling me. So we're going to keep doing it, man.
That's right, man. That's the mindset to keep for sure.
I might have just rambled right there, but that was
true
emotion coming out here.
No, that's great advice for anybody that is chasing a dream or a goal, man. You can't give up. But with all the Luke stuff being said, you were a part of the Doing This video, which was really cool. That was a great way that they kind of painted a picture of your story and everything. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I guess I was going to go record in Nashville, and I had like 2 or 3 songs, and I still have them, and I think they're good songs, but I ended up pulling the trigger a week or 2 before and just being like, I don't know if I want to spend all this money for something that I don't know if I really like or if it's the right thing that I should be doing right now. So I literally just texted or called Luke. I was like, hey man, I was supposed to come record this week, but I'm not going to do it. And he was like, immediately, he was just like, hey man, I actually got 2 days off and you should come hang out at my house. This was last October. So Doing This came out November 10th, I believe, last year. So we hung out in October, just like went and fished at his pond and chilled and talked about life, and literally just took it back to old times and talked about what I'm doing in life and all this kind of thing. But I guess 2 weeks later, I get a call from Sony and TA Films. It was TA Films who's always done all of Luke's videos. And we went to Appalachian State with Aaron Connor, who's a part of this crew, and there's Tyler Adams. He keeps it pretty local around North Carolina. But anyways, I get a call from them like, hey man, we have this idea from Luke and Sony as far as like putting this, they didn't even say the song. They didn't send it to me. They were like, we want to do a music video with you and your family if y'all would like to be a part of it. So I immediately was like, of course, it would be awesome. So I think a day or two before, I text TA Films and I was like, hey, what song? Like, are y'all going to send me a song? And so he was like, don't share this with anybody. This is confidential. Like, I get it. So they had sent it to me. And it was Doing This song that Luke had already showed it to me maybe 6 months before that, or a year ago at some point, when they had written that over COVID or whatever. I can't remember. Maybe it was before that. But anyways, they come out to our house, do the video with my wife. I'm in the house right now that we did it in still, but it's the kitchen upstairs and the living room. And that was like my daughter, Lily. Her hair's grown so much since then. Like you wouldn't recognize her from the video till now, because she looks like a little full-blown girl now, which is crazy. But it's that video, I guess, going back to like the scenes you see of me playing on stage. That's at Kid Brewer Stadium in Boone at Appalachian State's football field. And that footage was recorded back in September 2021. So I think that's kind of how it was, just a perfectly placed picture of everything. And even through not even my life, but Luke's life, of like showing this, doing this thing. Because even though I'm the guy in my hometown with a family now, and he'd had a wife too, but I guess me having a daughter, it's like I'd still be doing this if I wasn't doing it with my old band. And it doesn't matter if we're making $600 tonight or $2,000 tonight, we're still playing. And that's kind of rings true to Luke even more so. And for me, I mean, it's just the way people do it, and it's so relatable. And I don't know, I'm rambling now, but it means the world to me to be a part of that. And it's cool for Luke too, to see his dreams come true through that song, and the writers as well on it.
What was the reaction like back home, and just with, people reaching out to you and stuff after the video came out?
Dude, I guess what was crazy, they dropped it at the CMA Awards. He played that song. I think they dropped the video. I don't know if it was on mistake or it was on purpose, but it was like 10 minutes before he went on and played Doing This on the CMA Awards last November. And I started immediately getting texts and calls and texts. And it was like Instagram followers going up by double in like a week. And it was pretty crazy. Like, it was interesting, I guess, to say the least. I started getting hit up by like Taste the Country and the New York Times and all these big publications and big outlets, and just started doing interviews and started talking about Luke and my journey and who I am and all this stuff. And now you can Google my name and find out pretty accurately who I am. It's pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, it's what, I don't know if I answered that question correctly, but
absolutely, man.
Yeah, definitely. So I know a little bit ago, before we talk about all this, you had mentioned that you've got an EP and some more singles coming out. Can you give us, or our listeners, or some of your fans on here listening, maybe a time frame or anything, or is it kind of under wraps right now? Or
no, I mean, we're ready to roll with it. Like, obviously we've had, like we've talked earlier, that When the Sun Goes Down was the first single, Matters More was the second single. We're doing a collab with Casey Tyndall, and she's literally incredible. She's like to Lainey Wilson as I am to Luke, I guess, in the game as far as being friends and on the realm of like country music. Like, cool. I wouldn't say totem pole or anything, but it's just like, yeah, Drinking and Lonely is our song that we have coming up. But featuring Casey Tyndall, I wrote this with Jacob Lutz, my good buddy. Reed Isbell is on this, and Jamie Davis is on this. He's on The Kind of Love We Make with Reed and Dan Isbell. But yeah, Drinking and Lonely, just got the master back today. About 3 weeks out from now or so, we will drop that as a single with her. And then there's 3 more songs coming out. One's called Poor Decisions, P-O-U-R, Poor Decisions.
Nice.
Wrote that with Jamie Davis and Jacob Lutz. And then I did get to write a song with Luke and Dan and Jamie Davis, Dan Isbell, Jamie Davis, and Luke Combs. This one's called She Knows I Will. Kind of a secret, kind of a surprise. It's just going to be hidden, like not even hidden, but just on the EP, not as a single, just dropped like that. And then lastly, we got one called Long Shot, and Appalachian State, my alma mater. Luke went there, and it's just like, this song kind of speaks to like 2017. I moved to Tennessee to chase a dream that they said I'd never catch. That's the first line or two. And talks about being a long shot. Wrote it with Adam Craig. Looked up to that guy for forever. Wrote Church Pew or Barstool kind of town. Jason Aldean.
Oh yeah.
He's incredible writer.
What was the song that he had out? Was it Just a Phase from a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
And it did well for him, but that should have been a smash.
Dude,
that is such a good song.
Radio play. I feel like it's got like 18 million Spotify streams.
Oh yeah, it was big for him, but it should have been. I mean, that song was incredible.
Man. Dude, Adam Craig is top notch, dude, and he's
I saw him open for Chris Young. Right when that song was coming out, and he was awesome live too.
Dude, he's just like, I learn a lot from that dude. And I've written one of my other songs I've kind of held out. It's called Fan Like You, but it's like more of a song if I'm ever playing or opening for people in an arena, or like that has a section 302. But it's like I wrote that with him, and he's just we click pretty good. But yeah, Adam Craig's on the Long Shot song with Chris Utley, the guy that's recording all my music. He just signed with Sony Publishing, and he's a writer on that. And also my good buddy Jay Brunswick, he wrote Always Been Me with Josh Thompson, and has a lot of other cuts out there. But the Josh Thompson thing and me hanging out with him, like when Eric was coming up, Josh Thompson was like opening for Eric a little bit with Beer on the Table and all that whole album, I guess. But man, that was the Long Shot tune. That's kind of like our encore, kind of like the Jack Hardy, Mockingbird and the Crow kind of song that we got up our sleeve that brings out my rocky kind of modern 2000s rock side kind of
thing.
Man,
Hardy is pulling that off right now, man. He can go from about the hardest song you can ever imagine to straight right back in the country without blinking, and people are loving it.
And I think this just shows like that the lyrical genius and like whoever he's working with for producing that stuff is insanely cool. How I can hear Hardy's stuff now and be like, wow, that's 3 Days Grace or Seether from back when I was listening to music in high school. And it's like, that's what's bringing me back and gives me an outlet, I think, for my future music and stuff I want to do. And I think a lot of my people that know me know I'm like that, but I don't know. It is what it is.
Absolutely, man. So what, do you have anything on the calendar, for the end of the year or maybe early next year for shows? Are you doing much traveling, or is it just kind of back and forth to Nashville for now? Or
yeah, I know next week I'm doing an In the Round podcast, not on the podcast, but in the round showcase, like for their writers round on Tuesday night. And they always have like very top-notch writers that are out there doing their thing, and artists out there like Casey Tyndall plays out there quite a bit and does that stuff. But November 17th, that's a Thursday, Appalachian Theater. That's a huge hometown show for us. 629 capacity. We're going to sell that thing out. It's going to happen. $15 tickets. Hopefully, if y'all are in Boone or the surrounding area, come on out. Tickets go on sale Friday at 11 a.m. I'll be posting all that on my socials, like Adam Church Music and Instagram and all that. Yeah. I guess another really cool show is Cotton Eye Joe is this place called or at this place called Cotton Eye Joe in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we're going to be opening for my good buddy, Hayden Kaufman. He's been a good buddy for a long time, and I support all his stuff. And Trey Lewis is the headliner. So we'll be getting down in Dallas on November 18th. That's going to be fun. That's I guess Sidetracks, November 23rd, Bristol, Tennessee. That's a cool little joint to play with our band. And
oh man, I'm only about 2.5 hours from Bristol, so
no way.
Yeah, if I'm free that night, I'll bounce down there. I go to Bristol quite a bit.
Dude, I'll get you in for free, and there's probably going to be people smoking a couple cigarettes in the green room, which is outside. There's no green room there. It's just it's our cup of tea as far as the venue and our kind of crowd. It's awesome.
That's cool, man.
Heck yeah, man. Well, Adam, thanks so much again, man, for coming on and talking with us tonight. We really appreciate it. It's been fun, man.
Dude, I appreciate y'all having me, and anytime y'all want to get up again, we'll chat about anything, the new EP, whatever, and just lead on into next year. And I'll be here for y'all anytime. Always
absolutely
supporting the cause, guys, for sure.
Yeah, right back at you, man. Definitely keep us in the loop when that's going to drop and everything, and we'll share that out. And for those of you listening, definitely go check out Adam's current music he's got out. Amazing stuff. You guys will love it. And you can find him on all social media platforms. Just search Adam Church Music. And while you're at it, if you're new here, check us out. You can find us at Country Convos pretty much anywhere you can be on social media these days. So go check us out. But I think that's going to do it. Do you guys have any final thoughts, final words?
Country Convos for the win. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. And on that note, guys, until next time, keep it country and take care of each other.